Okay, here we are, boys. We are live.
Guys,
Yo.
How we doing?
for Monday.
Yeah. Got Eric here doing a podcast with us live. And yeah, let's see how this rolls. My mouse doesn't work very well over here. But yeah. Thank you everybody for being here. The whole 0 of you. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening, everyone?
And we've also
Tom.
got.
You have to hit this?
No, I don't.
Okay, my bad.
It's all good. We got two people watching us.
All right.
Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I'm your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening,
And
everyone?
we have Eric.
What's going on?
First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use. And thank you for watching on YouTube. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message, right, peeps?
Yes, sir.
So what's going on over here? We're live right now. We got looks like two people on here. So how you guys doing? Good?
Doing good, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I like this dynamic.
Yeah, so do I.
Do you?
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I don't know. It's a bunch of old guys, age 40.
I
and
got
up.
got you beat a little there.
Well, we have
Hey,
old
What
and
you're
then
saying?
53.
What you're saying? Your quote?
Which one?
Your Al Pacino?
I've been around some, you know. I've seen some things, you know. You know what that's from? Scent of a Woman.
Scarface. maybe.
No, Scent of a Woman.
Okay.
He's in the courtroom. Great scene.
Good. All right. Well, let's start talking recovery, can we? Ben, you had a good topic for us. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah. So scrolling the Instagram and I follow a bunch of there's a guy on there like badass recovery, it's badass counseling, things like that. I follow a lot of like I guess you could say men that are in the space of therapy, counseling, recovery, etc. And one of the videos came up, I forget exactly who it was, but it was talking about the different well, you're always talking about community, right, Tom?
Yes.
And what it did is it broke down the traits of 3 types of people that you should have in your community, which I really like. Because what's that saying you always have? To show me your friends, I'll show you your future, and then you talk about the 5. Some of
You are the average, the sum of the 5 people you hang around with.
yeah. So it gives us 3 that certain traits to have. Should I just put them out there right
Men.
now
This is for men.
for men? I think
Yeah.
it probably goes both ways.
I don't know.
I think women are somewhat naturally this way to begin with.
Yeah.
Some of them. Yeah.
So trait number 1, somebody that what was it again? I'm drawing a
Someone
blank.
that'll hold you accountable.
Mhm.
Somebody that will tell you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear.
What you need to hear. And then the second one, somebody that you could tell anything to.
But these
That'll-
clarify, these are male friends for the man.
Yes.
He's talking.
Someone that will keep your secret that you can confide in, literally tell them everything, and you know it's going to the grave with them. And then the third one was referred to as your ride or die. And the example used was someone you call them at 3 a.m. and they're there for you. They're answering, they're showing up.
It
whatever the
actually
case-
said no questions asked is what the clip you showed me. There's
no questions asked.
So that's that scene in the movie The Town when he's like, we're gonna go somewhere, can't ask about it ever. We're gonna hurt some people, and the guy says, well, "Whose car are we taking?" That guy. That's what we're talking
Yep.
about.
I mean, it's interesting, but honestly, I could probably rattle off a handful of people like that in sobriety. I think that's one of the things that, you develop these types of relationships with people. I don't think it's just one. Yeah, well, in that clip, the guy said that if you can find one person that covers all 3 of those, then that's obviously really good.
Which
Yeah.
I don't think is possible because that would be in conflict, 2 of those.
Which ones?
Well, if you have a guy that'll hold you accountable and not tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear, then he can't be the same guy that'll do whatever you want questions asked. he can't ride. It'll be like, okay, let's go. He will. Well, no, that's a bad decision you make, and that's not a sober decision right there. And I won't be a part of that. Can't be the same.
Well,
Interesting.
leave it to Eric to
Yeah.
analyze the crap out of
It's
that.
true though.
It's
I mean,
true
right?
though.
It can't be
Yeah.
the same. It's not. If
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, and you've come to me before, and I've been that lone voice you said that has said, "Hey, no, that's not." Then I can't be the guy that's also like, "Hey, up to you, man. I'm here."
I think though that certain people could potentially have the ability to flip flop that role if they're extremely grounded and armed with facts about themselves. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, as long as they're willing to say no, I'm gonna be a party to that.
Because the thing that comes to mind for me is like I do have a few men in my life that I feel like meet at least 2 out of 3, if not all 3 of those potentially. I'm trying to think of it. But for instance, I have sponsees that have years sober now, and that I don't consider myself their sponsor. Like, I don't look at it like that anymore. They still like, "Oh, yeah, Ben's my sponsor," kinda thing. And I'm like, "They're my sponsor," but it's really not that anymore. Now that they've gone through the work, there's definitely certain people in my life that, like, once you go through a 4th and 5th step with somebody, that's something that can never be a bond that can never be broken. You know what I mean? Through experiencing that, like, you hear somebody's 5th step and you get down and dirty with that,
Mhm.
that's a bond that can never be broken right there. With that being said, I think that helps in my case, has helped some, not all, of my relationships through sponsorship to where, yeah, man, we could tell each other anything. If something went down and I needed their help, regardless of time, place, they would be there. And also someone that would tell me the truth, man. I've had I can think of one person that comes to mind that's done all 3 for me.
And I get that. I think what I'm saying is what I'm pointing out is the qualifier in that 3rd guy that is your
Yeah.
ride or die was the no questions asked part.
Gotcha,
Because that's
gotcha.
what it said. It's a guy that no questions asked, he'll be there, ride or die. No, man, I'm asking some questions. Like,
Yeah.
are you making the right choice? Like, you show up and say, "Hey, this guy's messing with my wife," whatever, and I don't live like that today. I'm not getting in the car with you to go after. I'm not doing that stuff anymore. I'm gonna say, "No, let's handle it a different way."
I think we should break these down one at a time real quick too. And it's funny, what was the first one again? The first one, someone that'll tell you the truth.
Yeah, not just what you
I'd rather step on your toes and step on your grave kinda guy. And it's funny, dude, I was running group the other day. Remember, and Eric and I, we were talking on was that Friday? I caught you downstairs by the old
Friday.
brook?
No, I wasn't here Friday. It was
What day
probably
was that?
Wednesday. Probably
It
Wednesday.
was Monday. It was Monday because I was going to therapy
Okay.
afterwards in the evening. But I actually mentioned it in group when I ran group on Thursday. I didn't go into the context of what was happening, but it really fit, and I wanted to give our clients an example. And I told them, I said, "Man," and I've got Eric in my life who just did this for me this week. "Dude, you had me downstairs for a minute, and I told you something
Mhm. Yeah.
pretty confidential, very personal.
Yes.
And dude, you hit me with some truth." And I shared that with the clients. I didn't go into detail
Right.
of what we were talking about. But the one thing that I mentioned that you said to me is you said, "Ben, hurt people hurt people."
Yeah.
And you asked me, "Are you just looking to hurt somebody?" Or something
Yes,
along those
exactly.
lines.
That's exactly
And I
what
was like, "Dude." So,
Yeah.
and I like that because had I gone into I brought it up in my therapy session, and my therapist, she never tells me what to do, but she laid out all 3 different avenues that I could choose to take. But what resonated with me in making my choice is what you said.
Yeah, because in the end, it came down to what you were about to do. What purpose does that serve? Who does that serve? To what end does that serve?
Essentially, if I had to sum it up, Eric, check my motives on something.
Right.
I mean, can you give us, like, some insight as to what it was?
Okay, yeah, if you're lost, I'll just should I say it? Dang.
You use the person
Okay.
in your life.
So something happened to me in childhood, which if you go back on the previous podcast, you can figure it out. And I wanted to know the answer why my caretakers, why it slid under the radar for as long as it did. And I really felt like confronting it to get the why.
You had it written out.
I had it written out and was like, "Do I show this letter to them or not. And Eric asked me my motive behind it. Like, what would finding out why if I got that answer, what would it change?
Right.
The reality was nothing.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I'm hurt.
Mhm.
I was hurting that Monday, but, like, I was preparing myself because I knew I had that therapy session coming up, and just him checking my motives on it, like, was good because I think I didn't I didn't have myself convinced that I wasn't doing it for the wrong reason. Did I say that
Yeah.
right?
You wanted to elicit a prescribed response is what it was. You wanted to do that repeatedly to get an angry response. Like to
Was
Well,
that not
if you weren't yeah, but let me ask you this, and if you weren't challenged or if you when this is going through your head and you're potentially about to react on it, you were feeling some sort of way about something that happened many, 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 many years ago. So, one, something prompted it, right? Could it be and this is kind of turning into a therapy session live.
That's alright. Let's roll with it.
Could it have been that in that very moment, kinda like Eric, I'm tracking with Eric, but also looking to assign blame for it in that very moment.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think had Eric not challenged you in the sense of, like, checking your motives with this, then you could have gone and arguably, it probably would have made things worse.
That was Eric's point, exactly,
and it
like,
would have hurt somebody.
it
But you you
would've
would have
hurt somebody.
in the long run, you would have wished you hadn't done it.
I think so.
Well, and that kinda goes, you know, against the grain with what we're taught in the steps, right?
In what way? What do you mean?
Well, I don't except for when to do so would injure them or others.
That's on the making amends
Making
process.
amends.
This is not an amends. This
No,
is
I know this isn't an amends, but if we look at
Yeah,
making
I see your
an
point.
amends in and of itself,
yeah, when and right, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, and this would have injured somebody. That
but look at
100%.
it but and also look at the amends process, right? A lot of we instruct people, you don't make amends to, um, in a self-serving way,
no,
right?
amends means to mend something.
Right. Well, or to make a change. And in that very situation, the only reasoning to even go about doing what you would have done would have been self-serving.
Mhm. And let me throw this out there, this is where it stood out to me, and at this point, I guess, kind of the reason I brought it up. Eric, I know, is somebody that'll just tell me the truth, and I won't say doesn't care about hurting my feelings, but he'd rather me know the truth
Yeah.
and make an informed decision because that's gonna save my feelings down the road. But with that being said, your average person that knows me would probably say, "Oh, Ben, you're justified to feel that way.
Yeah.
You did get hurt. You" and, like, pat me on the shoulder, frothy emotional appeal,
Yeah.
right? And said, and, "Yeah, you do deserve to know," like, and that's just human nature to try to comfort somebody. I think, but Eric's been around long enough and through steps and heard enough steps and all that to where he knows when to differentiate the true, and he's like, "Nah, dude, Ben needs to just hear this like it is."
Because again, to what purpose does it serve? To make you feel better? It's not gonna make you feel better, maybe for a minute, right? But at the same time, you're gonna hurt somebody who's probably already knows and is already hurt for it and probably already is through it over it, So it's the ripple effect. Like, why? Why? What's the motive
Yeah.
there?
This is interesting because the more I think about it, like, I also prescribe to the idea that, like, what we're talking about wasn't something that was, like, somebody stole your favorite basketball jersey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this was a big thing that happened. Now, The only reason I think that just let that dog lie is because 20 years or more has passed,
Yeah.
or 25
Well,
years.
but it was also more than that without getting into what we're saying. Your perception of what had happened and not what happened to what the event itself, but how it came to happen, right?
Mhm.
Was based on an understanding from 30 years ago, 20 years ago of how society was and moved back then. It and we in relation to what you know now in the field that we work in. And so it's like comparing the ethics or morals of somebody, 100 years ago, let's say, to where how we behave today. You can't. I can't say, "Oh, I wouldn't have done that 100 years ago if I was in the," like, you understand what I'm saying. You and I spoke about this. Uh, that wasn't abnormal back then to be, uh, have these people in your life without divulging. It's hard to talk about this without divulging it, but
Yeah.
do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Did I give enough context for people to understand what we're talking about here?
So,
Yeah, Ben had an experience many, many, many years ago, and he wanted some clarity on why. And there's certain things in our life that we're not. It's like my mom. She left. She bounced when I was 2. Why? And there. Not that I really cared once I got old enough. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but it would have served me no good, like knowing why. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Because I grew up she just left, you know? And then she died, and I definitely ain't gonna find out, you know? But I think going back to what we were talking about, like, having somebody in our life that can really kinda be a barometer, of what because left to our own devices, there's and Eric, you've experienced this too, and we won't go into your situations, but I know you've come to me with certain things. How do I handle this? And the funny thing is that 90% of the time, this stuff all happens within family,
right.
and family, they're the ones that we're supposed to be able to go to with everything. In fact, they're the ones that we go to the least amount with anything.
But family knows how to push your buttons. They're the ones that installed those buttons. So when we go, I need someone to check me because my thinking can still get off, especially when I'm dealing with emotion. Look, when I was drinking and drugging, I lived in over my emotion over intellect constantly. Everything was an emotional reaction. You wrong me, I'm crying, I'm happy, but everything's either here or here. When we get sober, we live in intellect over emotion. I have emotion, I show emotion, I don't have emotional responses. I don't let those emotions dictate how I respond, right? It's like the old thing, write the letter, but don't send it, right? How many times did you send an email or you send something that you wish you could have back the next day? So, when when I get emotional, my wife did something, I'm angry about this, I will come to somebody because you'll tell me the truth. You'll be like, "No, listen, this is how you can't look at it like this." Because I can't see that when I'm emotional. That self-deception comes back, and what do you always say? Self-deception can't spot self-deception.
Yeah, it's about self-deception by yourself.
Yeah.
I wanna touch on something really quick that was given to me because the examples that we use, Tom just talked about his mom when he was 2 years old. I just talked about childhood trauma from when I was 10. Um, but if we're thinking in the real time too, I just wanna throw this out there as a suggestion for anyone listening. One of the things that I ask myself in hard situations, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said by me right now?
And those are 3 really good questions to ask, and that's what you weren't asking yourself that day. That's what I basically pointed out to you,
Yeah,
right? Basically the same thing because you were, having an emotional response, so you couldn't see through that emotion to ask yourself those 3 questions that you normally would. It's
yeah.
exactly how it works.
That's the funny thing is usually we do possess these tools.
Right, but yes, when we don't use
Once
it
in a
in the
while, we
moment.
get overtaken by emotion.
Listen, I can without ever picking up a drink or a drug, I'm happy to put my life and my relationships to the ground with what comes out of my
Oh,
I
yeah.
have the capacity to do that because I still got that in me. right? And in a moment, I talk about this all the time. The hardest place I have to work in this program is in my home with my wife, the program. And that's where I really, really, really want to work the show, man. My home.
Well, that's where you have the ammunition too. When somebody's
Yeah.
let you in, to,
Right.
when I let somebody in, or when someone else lets me in, and I know everything about them that you possibly can as a human, especially a significant
Yeah.
other, you possess in your hand the weapon, like of all destruction. You can hurt them worse than anybody else emotionally because you're on such an intimate level and you know them so well. That's the interesting thing about, I know we're not, like, talking about relationships, but within, say, marriages, relationships, whatever, I think that's one of the really cool things about having a relationship is both of you possess the weapons to destroy each other
Absolutely.
more so than anybody else, yet you choose not to.
Right.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Except for when you see actually use them, then it becomes really ugly, which happens with addiction and alcoholism
Yes.
a lot. The the pointing the finger. That's
Mhm.
exactly what that is, you know? If you wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't be this way, you know? Or it's like it can get really
And
messy,
you can
really
look at
ugly.
the state of the divide in our country and stuff and be like, I heard a saying one time, and there's a lot of truth to this. Choose to be kind over being right and be right every time. Like, how important is it to be right?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about things that, like, are really important, but I'm talking about, like, my opinions and
Mhm.
you know, and 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 my feelings. We say all the time, feelings aren't fact. I might feel a certain way, that doesn't mean it's the truth, and I learned that even when you're talking about relationship. My wife and I have something going on. I can tell her, and this is in acceptance is the answer. I can tell her she ought not think a certain way. Like but I have absolutely no right to tell her she can't feel the way that she feels.
Yeah.
She has every right to feel the way she feels. That's her feeling. So when we keep it on feelings, look, when you say this or when you do this, it makes me feel. Well, we get to know ourselves better and each other better, and then what the problem is better, as opposed to trying to be right and hurt each other, right?
Yeah.
And then this is just all throughout the book. It really is. Love and tolerance is our code.
Yeah.
Speaking of the book, Big Book Study, every Monday night, 5 o'clock Eastern Time. If you're not registered for it, make sure you go to realrecoverytalk.com/Big Book Study and register. This gentleman right here, pointing at Eric, heads it off, doing a phenomenal job. We're getting into week 9,
Yeah, tonight we start We Agnostics.
talking about God.
Yeah, those without knowledge of God.
It's been great. It's been a great turnout. What was there was something what was the second one that we talked about?
Second personality
Yeah.
was the guy who,
You can tell the secret too.
and he'll keep a secret. Very important that you have that man that like a sponsor, like, that he will hold that confidence forever, and I have to be able to tell that to guys that I sponsor that, hey, what you tell me never goes to anybody else.
Why should they believe
They don't have to believe anything, but if they're not gonna be honest with me if they don't. I mean, they either how do you make them believe that?
that? Right.
You know how I make them believe it? I tell them the worst about me. I
Exactly.
tell them what I never was going to tell another human soul, the embarrassing stuff about me, the stuff that I don't look, we find out when I did that 5th step and that 4th step, I found out that there's 3 me's. There's the me that I want you guys to think I am. It's 1,000 yards off target. There's the me that I think I am. It's a little closer, right? Still pretty far downrange. And then there's the real me, the one that I don't want you 2 to ever see or ever know about. The me that lives up here, the me that I've never let you see. That's who I am. That's the real me. And I have to be able to let this guy know that. And once I let him know the real me, then that saves space for him to open up, say, man, wow, can't believe you just told me that.
Yeah, I say the same thing about, like, when I tell my story at a meeting, I always touch on the 5th step. I think it's one of the big building blocks It gives you the opportunity to have a spiritual experience, which will lead you to a spiritual awakening, the way I look at it. But the example that I always utilize when it was time to do my fifth step, my sponsor, which the fifth step, for those who maybe don't know, it's where you have an opportunity. It says it in italics. You tell someone all their story. It's your opportunity to tell them the most embarrassing things, all the stuff that you're totally ashamed of that you're taking to the grave. Well, I did my fifth step with my sponsor, and I left some things out, but that man gets through me. And I always share it exactly like this. It was through a demonstration of his principles that gave me the courage to do so, because I was hiding things from him, and he just looked at me and says, "You know what, man? I know that wasn't all of it. I'm gonna do something for you. I'm gonna tell you the stuff that was on my step that I didn't wanna tell my sponsor." And he ended up telling me these things about him, like, he's like, "Look, I told you stuff about me. What do you gotta lose?"
Yeah.
And it was because you asked Eric a second ago, like, what'd you say, "What's gonna make you trust them," or something?
Yeah,
Why should he
why
believe
should
you?
they believe you that
Yeah,
you're not gonna air their dirty laundry?
yeah, right there, I think in a sponsor-sponsee relationship, the sponsor always has the opportunity to go first.
Mhm. Yeah.
You have to be a good example.
And the whole purpose of that Vista, I hear people say it all the time, "Yeah, you get rid of that stuff. You tell it to somebody and you get rid
Mm.
of it." No, I'm not getting rid of anything. That's my past. It's already there. It's nailed down. It's not going anywhere. What's done is done, right? All I can do with it is tell it to another man, commend it to the mercy of God, and learn from it. And what I learned from it is who I really was. And telling somebody this is nothing new. Catholics have done it for years. It's called confession. Yeah, they're saying that they're taking it to God, but really it's telling of the other person, right? Telling somebody else what you've done.
The book breaks that down too, where you tell yourself, you tell God, you tell another human being, right? The thing, and I always break this down when I'm taking guys through steps, like, I already know what I did.
So do I.
God already knows what I did.
Yeah,
So where the courage and the character building comes from is telling another human being.
exactly.
The other 2, they're kinda like freebies.
So think about that personality we're talking about. I have to have that guy that I can go to, and I know that hey, I can tell you this. Promise you're not going to tell anybody. I know. I don't even have to say that. I know you're not going to tell anyone.
It's
Right?
fear of judgment, really, is what it
Yeah,
boils
yeah,
down to. Fear of judgment, and I like what you said about there's 3 me's,
yeah.
and and telling somebody this stuff and being open with people or one specific person, whatever it is you exposing yourself,
Mhm.
and we're not used to doing that,
Yeah.
especially drinking and drugging.
Sure.
I mean, my gosh, I was everything. I was whatever you wanted me to be when I was drinking. I was a, you know, damn near professional football player. I told that story one
Yeah.
time, like, all kind of stories, just everything was just fake, and then when we get into recovery, it's like but some people actually go the opposite end. When we get sober, how many people do we see that, like, they go from one person, which arguably could be more them drinking and drugging, to getting sober and becoming going to the opposite end of the spectrum.
So I think that it's being authentic. Okay, and I'll explain to you what I mean by this. When I first came into the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I thought I had to be that. I love everybody. I'm gonna hug everybody. Um, oh and I'm not that guy, right? And I got involved with people where I thought that, like, I had to go from here, be this guy, to, "Yeah, I pray every day and on the knees and God's gonna do it," and I overcorrected, way overcorrected, and it was so disingenuous that
Yeah.
it came off that way, and if I it up, I wound up shooting myself probably someday. And a good friend of mine in the program said, "No, kid," he's like, "You be you. You be you. You go through this process and don't hurt anybody anymore.
Yeah.
You be you, but you can't hurt anybody anymore. And your actions and your behaviors can't hurt anybody anymore." And I was able to still be me. Like, I didn't have to You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have to put on this front like I'm this guy that I'm not.
Well, if you're not you, you're also robbing somebody of the opportunity that is like you to not be able to find you.
Exactly. It's absolutely right.
So, like, there's guys out there that need an Eric. There's guys out there that need a Tom. And if you're out there faking, pretending you got this
Yeah.
stage character on,
Right.
pretending to be someone you're not, and
Right.
Eric's all Mr. Lovey-dovey, like, and this dude needs, like,
Yeah.
a street dude.
Yeah.
Then you got
Exactly.
Mr. Intellectual Analytical over here, Tom. Some
Me?
people yeah, bro.
I mean, if you're not being
Some people need that.
if you're not being genuine, you're gonna let people down real quick.
Paolo, somebody said something, I can't read it. What's that say?
I don't know, Rich something.
I don't know.
Says Niche Sal, NICHSOW.
Niche Sal. Okay. All right. I mean, and those types of people, like what you said, overcorrecting, man, I had so many of those people in my life.
He said hi.
Hi, Paolo. If I'm pronouncing that
Pagla.
correctly. Is it Pablo?
Pagla.
Oh, Pagla. Sorry, the screen's far away. I was surrounded by
It is
those
far.
people.
Yeah.
Which in turn kind of somewhat turned me off. You know, thank God I stuck around
Yeah.
because I was surrounded by people that were fanatical.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a Christian, right? But they were like over the top. Like the big book is from the big book. If you can't, give yourself to Christ, this isn't going to work for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't even believe this is the message that's being spread right now.
Right.
Now, fortunately, I had enough people around me that said, that's not we
Mhm.
we don't need to listen to that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same reason why I stopped going to church at one point in my life. Like, I'm not, and then it really, like, I go to church now because I found what I found my tribe, kind of, so to speak. I found a church I like to go to, and in my pursuit of God. It's the same thing that like I can still be me. I can celebrate who I am.
Yeah.
Just don't hurt people today. Don't live dirty. Don't, and that's what the psychic change was. It's not you have to dress different or it's none of that stuff.
There was somebody really close to me. They're still very close to me. I had 8 years sober, and I remember this distinctly. I was at my house, and I was in my driveway washing my car, and this person was at my house. And this person was sober, maybe, I don't know, a year, something. And he belonged to a sponsorship family type thing. That was very I don't know, the best way to put it would be, indoctrinating.
Mhm.
And basically what he told me was, "If you don't do X, Y, and Z, I don't see how you're gonna stay sober." And I'm like, "What do you mean by that exactly?" "Well, you don't go to many meetings and, how many and I'm like, "I can't even believe that I'm being approached with this right now." It's like a Sunday afternoon, I'm in my driveway, the sun's shining, I'm washing my truck, and I'm getting this. Part of me got prideful because I think to myself, "I got 8 years sober, dude, and you're in, like, sobriety diapers." And it kinda pissed me off, and over the years, whatever, it's totally fine, didn't make a but all to say, like, this particular person was indoctrinated into a belief system around sobriety that is completely false and not the right message to spread. And that is the thing that sometimes drives me crazy about 12 step. 12 step in and of itself is very powerful. It's got millions of people sober. But you have to be able to sift through the BS.
Well, and that's what
The fellowship.
this
Right.
protects you from.
Yeah.
This is the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and this protects you exactly from that. It's not a It's not what we did it like this in our sponsorship family. We did it this way. We did. It's like, well, this book says that I do it this way, and this is fine. This is what your process is. Your process within the parameters of those 12 steps, and that's it. Because I agree, you understand. Look, I will tell somebody. I don't put rules on that. And it's also the way you say it to somebody. I would never say to somebody, well, I don't see how you're going to stay sober when that, you know how you stay sober? You don't drink and drug. And that's how you, when people ask me today that know me from here, man, how is it that you're sober today? I don't drink, I don't use drugs. That's how I'm sober today. You want to know how I didn't blow my brains out along the way? I did these 12 steps right here. I developed a relationship with God.
All right.
But the way that I'm sober is I don't drink and do drugs.
Yeah.
And that we miss that. So I never tell someone, how are you going to stay sober that way? What I will say is, hey, I don't sponsor people. I don't know how to sponsor people who don't go to meetings. So maybe there's somebody else for you. But I would never tell you you're not staying sober. I would never say that to somebody.
Yeah.
Only God knows that, man. I don't know that.
Anytime I start sponsoring a new guy, I like the way that what'd you say, the big book protects you from that?
It protects me from that, from old timers. Nothing against old timers, but people say we do it this way. My sponsorship family does it this way. Well, it's right there. Clear. It says clear-cut directions.
I have this discussion with any new sponsee and let them know if it's not in the book, it's not part of the program. If it's my opinion, I'll let you know it's my opinion, and I'm not going to sit here and say, like, for instance, and the example that I always give them is that you see a lot of sponsors tell their sponsees to do gratitude lists. I let them know that is not a part of the program. Now, am I going to sit here and tell you doing a gratitude list is a bad idea? No, it benefits people, I'm sure. But it's not Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not part of the 12-step program.
Exactly.
And I'm adding that in. I'm like sprinkling a little bit of what Ben thinks should be done. Like,
yeah, well, and look, I just had the exact same thing with someone the other day. It was sending me these long things in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. My phone goes off. I got this long list. I just go, yeah, I'm not reading that because I'm not reading that. I just said, it's me. I'm not. It's a long list of where have I been this, where have I been that, and if you're doing that for me in the morning, or even some people send gratitude to 20 people on a list thing. It's who's this for? Who's this for? If you're sending that to me, then you're checking off the box, and I've done my thing for the day. And how honest are you being with me? That stuff goes to God. For me, that's the way I do it. That stuff, I take that time. That stuff I talk to with God. I don't. That's just my opinion. But
yeah, I think that depends on where you're at in your state.
I'm not saying it's wrong. Definitely.
No, it's not wrong. It's funny because
nobody sends me a gratitude list.
We know you won't read them.
Why would I send this to Tom?
Start doing that with shift reports.
Yeah. No. So sometimes, like, I'll get a new sponsee that had a previous sobriety or whatever, and they'll shoot me over a gratitude list when I didn't ask them to or anything like that. And it's kind of, I always chuckle to myself because I'll look at it and then I'll hit them up. I'll call them and be like, "Yeah, good. You're grateful for all that. How are you going to prove it?"
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I understand the point of it, but what are you doing with the rest of the day? Are you just checking off the box like, oh, I did my sobriety thing today and I sent a gratitude list? Or is this genuine? Are you going to God with this? Are you living this? Are you, throughout your day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Gratitude lists are interesting. I see the point behind them, especially because it's about reps, and getting.
Exactly.
But if you got, multiple years of sobriety or, I don't even know.
I'm not going to sit here and bash them. It's not something that I do.
No. And I'm fine with sponsors who ask their sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely.
What gets when somebody sends me one that it's on a list, it's on a mass email to 20 other people or mass text to 20 other people. It's like, who is it for?
Yeah.
Like, is this to show us how sober you are or what you're doing, or is this genuine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be more pissed now. 20 other people have my phone number. Thanks, dude.
I never say nothing though. I get.
Neither do I because it's there. I let them, but I don't ask my sponsees to do that. And here's the thing: you hear so much of this. How many times have you gotten a sponsee? You want me to call you every day? You want me to call you every day? Dude, I want to call you every day. No, I don't want you to call. I want you to take responsibility for yourself. I want you to take some instructions.
Yeah.
But no, you can call me when you're up here. you know? Need that.
Yeah, I leave it totally up
Me.
to them. I tell them, I'm
Yeah.
like, "Hey, man, if you wanna call me every day you can,
That
if
exactly,
I hear from you once a week and that's the night that we meet up, that's cool too."
exactly.
Like, y and it's funny because when you a lot of the time, I won't say 100% of the time, but a lot of the time when I leave it open to their interpretation, guess what? They call me every day
Exactly. And
because
I'm
they want to, not
yes,
because they feel like they're checking a box.
right, and I'm fine with you calling me every day, but I don't put these stipulations on sponsorship.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Well, we kind of veered off course, but it was fun.
Yeah, well, we never covered person number 3,
What is it?
That's the ride or die.
the ride or die. How long do
Kinda
we
did.
got?
Yeah, I think we did.
We did?
Well, it's basically, oh, go ahead.
Uh,
I
put
don't
me on the
agree with
spot.
the ride or die, so that's
I get
you know,
the way that I interpreted though was, and I think it said this, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a few days since I saw the reel that I based this off of, but it was like if someone calls at 3 in the morning, they're gonna see your name and answer.
yeah, the answer that's not what the ride or die is. Ride or die means that's the guy that's going with you to go do whatever you're doing, and he's like, "I need you, you're coming going to do this." That's the whole term, ride or
Yeah.
die. No, man. I've had ride or die before, we've done some real stupid shit together,
See,
so that's not
I see what you're saying, but I interpret it as there's men in my life that I know that if I had a real emergency, that they would show up.
yeah, but those men are the same that's number 1 for me. That's the guy that'll tell me the truth about myself as well. If I got a guy that'll hold my confidence forever and never tell my secret and will also tell me the truth about myself, then chances are that guy's gonna answer the phone every time I call him.
Yeah.
He's gonna be there, but what he's not gonna do, he's not gonna co-sign my crap when I say, "Well, we've gotta go here and do that." He's gonna say, "No, that's a bad idea. I'm not gonna be a part of that because I don't live like that anymore." Ride or die to me isn't gonna do that. The ride or die is gonna be like, "Okay, yeah, alright." No because he said it, no questions asked. No, I'm asking some questions. You call me at 3 o'clock in the morning to go do something with you or to ride with you somewhere, I'm asking questions.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm asking a lot of questions.
I agree. Yeah, but I understand what you're saying, but and we gotta have those people in our life.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I have plenty of people who go do stupid shit with me.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't ride, you're gonna die.
It's
Oh,
just maybe it's just my connotate what I think of when I think
Yeah.
of that term because we use it so much in, you know, gangster
The
mythology and
underworld.
stuff, and yeah, like,
yeah.
my right eye, man, like, okay, now I want you to talk me out of something that I'm about to go do. Point it out, "Hey, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna I don't live like I'm not taking part of that." I like I said, number 1 and number 2, if they're that guy to me, that they're gonna answer the phone when I call because they care about me.
Yep. Any final thoughts, Ben?
No, dude, I really enjoyed this. I feel like we tied a lot of recovery, 12-step stuff into it, but at the same time, I don't know, man, I feel like we should start some, like, men's
Yeah, that's
what
on
would you
Mondays
call
like
that?
this.
I don't know.
It had a certain vibe to me today, like, just real talk.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what we were just talking about, the guys that will tell us the truth, the guys that are
Yeah.
sitting here and not afraid to, say, "No, I disagree with that," or, "I do," These are real questions that people have.
The been around and seen some things group.
Exactly,
Did I say those in the right order?
yeah, seen some things.
All right, that is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.
Oh, we should have addressed Agla.
Is that okay that I